education system that we had in the 19th century. And nowadays, society is more prepared for new forms of learning. Besides, we know that some of the common jobs that we have nowadays will disappear in a few years, but also we will create new different jobs. On the other hand, thanks to new technology and its rapid evolution, society moves at quicker rhythm, sometimes too quick, which leads people to live with constant changes. However, in some aspects, we have not changed yet. For example, in schools, high schools, universities, jobs. In the same way, we can easily observe how, thanks to robots, it's easier and efficient to perform tasks. This will result in many more works of engineering and technology, while service jobs will be notably decline. But, we can change it. Normally, people are not conscious and they don't know about the new type of work that will available to us. We need to be prepared, but no one explains nothing about that. So, at first, we need to teach people about this new change. Second, it's important to have this change starting in schools. For example, innovating a subject according to data that determines what will be necessary in the future. In conclusion, it's important to teach people about this new change, and so they will be aware that the change is coming and we have to be part of it. It's our future and the future of our sons, and we are able to improve it and be more prepared. Thank you so much.
Great hand for Estrella. What a wonderful speech. What a wonderful TED Talk. So now we are continuing with one of the school's most brilliant students, Mr. Luis Diaz. Big hand for Luis.
Hi, how are you? Okay. I have one simple question for you. Have you had breakfast today? Okay, what did you eat today for breakfast? Okay, well, you know that there are people that don't have breakfast, don't have lunch, also they don't have dinner. And this is a big problem that we have in our country, our society, our world. The hunger is a problem that is in every country and is something that is making the people suffer. In our country, Dominican Republic, there are 296,000 people that don't have food. And obviously, this is killing people. But there are some ways to change this situation. One can be making help centers that we help the hungry in the country. We search for people that don't have food and there give them a hot meal and a roof temporarily. Other thing that we can do is gather a group of volunteers to search the street of our country and then search for people that don't have food and feed them. Also, we can make a cafeteria that the rest of the food that people leave there, we can take that food, clean it well, and then give it to people needing. And for last thing that we can do is go to restaurants, because you know that the restaurants, when the food is about to decompose, they throw it away. But we can go to that places, save that food, and make sure that it's good for human consume, and then give it to needy people. Thank you for your attention.
A big hand of applause for Luis. Fantastic way of looking at this situation that we're living. And now, coming to the stage is Mr. Christopher Nin. Christopher is going to talk about, are we really trying? A warm welcome for Christopher. Please Put your hands together for Christopher. Harder than that.
Hello, good morning, everyone. First of all, I want to thank you for inviting me to this TED Talk today. Recently, I have been a thought in my mind, and I want you to analyze it with me. Are we really trying? Look, let me explain myself. Let's be honest. All of us, without exception, have thought at least one time that due to the curfew and social distancing, we would like to go out with our friends, family, or simply leave our homes outside the allowed time. And this is a reasonable thought. By limiting our time away from home, or time socializing, it is normal for us to feel alone, since we are human, and the human being is a sociable species that requires closeness with other people. And this is not something that depends on how each one of us is, but it is one of those things that define us as human beings that we are. But we are under a situation in which we cannot get carried away with this, in which we must take care of ourselves and the rest of our loved ones. And this is done as simple as following all the regulations and instructions we have heard over and over again from the health ministry. That we do wash our hands, use face masks, all these things we are tired of hearing. But are we really doing everything possible to keep following these regulations? Or rather, are we really trying to follow them? And when I say try, I'm talking about something that we are not doing, but something that we think to do, but we cannot do it. And then I ask you, what things have you done involuntarily and unconsciously to feel comfort without thinking about the risk you put yourself and others? For example, that moment where you thought that taking off your mask for a while to talk with your friends will not do anything wrong, or not using antibacterial gel since it was necessary because you did not touch anyone. But remember, you don't have to necessarily be touching someone directly so that the virus settles in your hands. It is as easy as your friend who has the virus but has not presented any symptoms open a door by touching the handle, and followed by that, you too open that door. And then, for some reason, you touch your face. Something we even do unconsciously all the time. And believe it or not, this is one of the reasons in which the virus spreads the most, by surfaces that we then touch. Also, with all this, there is another problem, which is, as I mentioned before, people who has the virus but has not presented any symptoms. This is something we must take care of, obviously, because any of us could be in this situation without even realizing it. With all this, I want you to go then and ask yourself, am I really trying? And what am I doing with the possibilities I have to contribute and add value to this funding process? And this applies to our work, family, friends, and all the environment that surrounds me. What level of consciousness do I have that trying is not doing? What things do I try that I only think about them, and what things do I do because I am convinced of them? Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Christopher. It was a fantastic speech. We really loved it. Okay, now let's put our hands together for our beautiful Yvonne, who's going to talk about what life will be after the pandemic. A big round of applause for her. Come on, guys.
Good morning. How are you? Okay. As 2020 blessedly finished, it's tempting to wonder where we are heading once the pandemic is history. COVID-19 has shown you that a lot, that by no means all of higher instruction can happen online. What will happen in the next 12 months will have a disproportionate impact on what happened in the more distant future. This crisis is alarming, in part because it has several new and unfamiliar features. A global medical emergency caused by a virus we still do not fully understand. COVID-19 is here to stay, and the future depends on a lot of unknowns. A self-inflicted economic catastrophe as a necessary policy response to contain its spread. The pandemic crisis has accelerated the phase of the expansion in e-commerce and increases in the phase of adoption of telemedicine, video conferencing, and online teaching. Remote work will be the new trend in the world of work. There is evidence that working from home is at least as productive as working in the office because everything is through technology. Governments will be bigger after playing the role of insurer of the economy in this crisis. The unexpected nature of the pandemic and its sudden and intrusive arrival in our lives will leave some questioning whether the world is still a safe place. What we must do is continue living with COVID-19 and adapt to the new measures that are appearing, but to a level that does put our life at risk. To end, the most important lesson we can take from the COVID-19 pandemic is the importance of working together on the issues that affect the entire human race, because we are much stronger united than divided. Thanks.
Excellent job, Yvonne. Okay, let's welcome Marian Cepeda with her talk title, Gen Z. Round of applause for Marian, please.
Morning. What is Gen Z? Gen Z are the people that are born between the year 1997 and the year 2012. That means the group span ages come from 10 to 24. They're known for their authenticity and just a different way of viewing the world. It is the digital generations, that ones that don't read history books because we have Google, that had probably never been to a library and actually read the books. They're the ones that news channel because we have social media. We're the last generation to have shaken things up, and the last one to do so were baby boomers who were born shortly after the Second World War. You might have heard of the Black Lives Matter movement. It started on TikTok, which is an app that we use to communicate our problems with the world. That can go from climate change to gender inequality and so much more. Now, think about a person that is Gen Z. Well, you will maybe think of a very distracted person. Well, it's proven that our generation has the shortest attention span of any in human history. And the main reason is because we started to shift due to this thing called the internet. This makes everything different. The way we interact with the world is different, how we get motivated is different, and even how we view things. This is the generation that, let's say, has the depressive side of humor with the school shootings, the coronavirus, and the horrible history our world has gone through, and a lot of problems. We just became numb and learned how to hide our emotions. I'm part of this generation rising, and I personally have a lot of opinions, and just not agree with what the senior people have to say. Their time has passed. We are now the new adults, and this is going to be our world. And there are so many problems that people choose not to acknowledge, and it's bothering. And the fact that they think that because we are young, our way is not the right way. Our opinion matters as much as yours does, and just listen and open your minds for once. The advice that I would give to the older generation is to just acknowledge that the fact that we are the future and we are not like you. So just listen and learn. Thank you.
Excellent job. Thank you so much, Marian. Now we have Mayra Gonzalez with a very interesting speech title. It's The Education System Uselessness, the Harmful Influence, and the Dog Employee Syndrome.
Morning. Did you know that school is basically made to indoctrinate and condition kids so that in the future they become useless workers that only know how to obey? Yeah, I didn't know that either. But what we all know is that we're taught a bunch of useless trash, and here's why. The school system has been influenced by the hierarchy since it was firstly introduced, only available to the privileged, including us. But that's not the point. The system not only preserved the cookie-cutter mold from ancient times where you literally gain some knowledge only to serve others, but it gradually became worse as its initial harmful influence benefited the rich. What's the problem? Well, even now in the 21st century, all those politics and wealth entrepreneurs greatly affect our society and governments as they quietly try to get the wind to blow in their favor. And schools do play as an interesting factor in their long-lasting success, as it is where the dog employee mindset is built. We waste 12 years of our life learning nonsense that won't even teach us how to pay taxes, and we are brainwashed in the process. There's no more than a 10% of useful information in the school's curriculums, and I'm being generous right here. The lack of preparation for the world as an independent adult is really a secure downfall in life, being truly regrettable based on the time investment we have done to receive nothing from it. And then, our only path is to become an office worker or an employee with a low paycheck because, after all, those are only options at hand after being conditioned to think that this is what we should become. We don't get teach the basics of economics, finances, management, and we should. We all should equally know that without having to go study the career. Like, it's bad, but it gets worse. Society heavily disencourages artistic paths and non-cliche vocations as if the infinite amount of new jobs available were just an illusion. But even if it was, we're made to believe so because we're forced to learn math, science, biology, and languages, so we're not allowed to choose. And then, instead of helping us develop the areas we're good at as a starting point, we're left there to perish from the ungodly piles of homework meant to kill our remaining brain cells, because we ain't learning a thing. We should reformulate the whole system, because it's clearly not going places if the statistics state that students can't even finish paying their loans because of the lack of education on the matter, and how in recent years, the younger generation has been trapped in the curse of long-lasting minimum wage jobs to merely survive. The other side of the coin hasn't even been able to recover from the debt, resulting in bankruptcy. After you graduate high school, you instantly become a specialist of the art to pointless knowledge, and maybe the next victim of the dog employee movement. I kindly recommend you to defy what's written and prove that we're bound to become the carpet for some entrepreneurs' dirty feet. That just by supporting the students in their areas and teaching them actual necessities, the uselessness of it would fade away. Thank you.
Excellent, excellent, Mayra. Good job. Okay, coming up next, we have Maria Fernanda Gual with the title, A New Life Ahead of Us. So, round of applause for Gualita.
Hi. Lately, I've been thinking a lot about how our life is going to drastically turn its path. In less than a year from now, everything's going to change, and we're going to start applying to universities. By doing this, we will begin our next journey in a new living style. You might have thought you were pretty easygoing before you came to university, but once you've been there for a few months, you'll be very open-minded. The mix of people you meet, the backgrounds they come from, the activities and lifestyle that people lead, all contribute to your widening acceptance of new things. You come to realize that not everyone is similar to you, and the things you find bizarre are another person's normal. This is what makes university so exciting, meeting new people and taking on unique opportunities. University is all about stepping out of your comfort zone. It might take a little while to get used to and find your feet on the new terrain, but 3, 4, or maybe more years, and once you finish your degree, you'll find you are more adventurous than when you started. There's no doubt that being turned away from mom, dad, your home comforts can be a bit of a shock to the system at first, but it is a necessary step on your self-development. During your university, you learn to stand on your own 2 feet, make decisions yourself, use your initiative, and generally just go it alone. Having no choice but to mix with new people, go out and socialize, and talk to strangers within your first few weeks automatically increases your confidence. If you have a shy nature, this can be daunting, but knowing that you need to bite the bullet and get out there is a good mentality to have. After years of socializing, you'll have undergone a significant confidence boost. Although you might not feel it when you graduate and get thrown into the big, scary grown-up world, during the course of university, you will have matured somewhat. This doesn't necessarily mean that you're mature now, but you'll be less immature than when you started. You might even have more of a sense of responsibility, although, of course, Everyone is different. In any case, university creates a lifelong habit for learning and critical thinking, which stands you in a good stead for your future career. You'll merge with a great network of friends, and whether you're the same person as when you started or not, you'll have had great years of life-changing experiences. Thank you.
Once again, excellent performance. Coming up next, we have Daniela Medina with her title, The Rise of Female Leaders. Round of applause for Daniela Medina.
Hi everyone. The rise of female leaders. The first thing we have to think about when talking about equality in leadership is that gender shouldn't be a factor in whether or not a person can be a great leader. A person's leadership abilities should depend on their individual strengths and personality traits. However, in many cases, women are encouraged enough to take on leadership roles as often as their male counterparts, contributing to an imbalance of who is in power. With that being said, as the year goes by, society has gradually been more open to new experiences, which in this case gives the female gender an opportunity to free themselves and take more leadership roles in society. This has caused on several occasions that the masculine gender feels offended or even defeated because his pride has been hurt by a woman. This is something that has been more than clear sometimes, but this is actually something that we all created, women and men did. But it does not only affect women, it does create a toxic masculinity that affects men as well. Besides that, let's go back to the leadership ideas. Something that has been part of human history is women being great leaders. It's written in books that we have to study about in school, but we don't take those events as serious as it should be. For example, countries like Denmark, Germany, Taiwan, New Zealand, Iceland, and Finland, they are all countries governed by women, and they are all part of the best countries in the world to live in. This is just a simple demonstration of how ignorant it can be to think that leadership abilities depends on the gender. This thinking is something that we have been fighting against for so many years of history, and yet we're still fighting against it. But we cannot deny the fact that actually we're getting better by the time. In the past specific year, the 2020, all the events that occurred led many people to look for a way to survive through every unexpected experience that happened to us. Consequently, many women had the opportunity to break free and show the world that the leadership by the female gender has actually been better than expected by achieving much more things that other male leaders in the past have achieved. Now, taking a look back at all I said, in which side are you going to be? Are you going to be part of the open-minded people that approve female leaders, or are you going to be part of the people that underestimate female leadership? If you're the last one, I will give you a hint. I actually gave you half of it already. But I will ask you to investigate yourself which are the countries with the best coronavirus responses, and then check who are the leaders of those countries. Thank you.
Excellent, excellent. Great job. Round of applause for Daniela. Coming up next, we have Cristel Morales with her title, Climate Change During COVID. Round of applause for Cristel.
Hi. Okay. Climate change during COVID-19 pandemic. Why is it so important talking about that right now? Well, perhaps not surprisingly, there is growing evidence that many of the same human activities that are contributing to climate change now are also contributing not only to the emergence of new diseases, but also to their spread. Research is providing compelling evidence of the extent to which climate change is actually influencing the evolution of organisms in ways that give rise to human diseases. Despite long-standing and plentiful warnings from scientists about the risks of a pandemic, the world was woefully unprepared for this crisis. The same is unfortunately true for climate change. As was the case with pandemics, scientists have long been sounding the alarm about climate crisis. Furthermore, the same climate conditions that are contributing to the increase and diversity of emerging diseases also shape their human encounters. Extreme weather events and accompanying natural disasters such as floods, droughts, heat waves, and wildfires are becoming commonplace as the effects of climate change tighten their grip on this planet. Climate-related natural disasters all point to a problem that has already arrived. The Earth will soon exceed climate tipping points, presenting a real threat of abrupt and irresistible climate changes. We need to ensure we're better prepared to withstand future pandemics, but also the other major looming threat to humanity, climate change. Thank you.
Hello. Our next speaker is going to be Ana Mar Beato. She's going to talk to us about education, our base for development. Let's give her a round of applause.
Okay. Good morning. Let's say the Dominican Republic's education system stays the way it is now for the next 50 years. Do you feel that the current way we're educating our children fully prepares them to be a part of the world and the change that we really need? If your initial thought was no, then listen closely to what I'm about to say. Today I'll be speaking to you about education, as well as its importance and impact on development. Education provides us knowledge of the world around us and changes it into something even better. It develops in us a diverse perspective to life and helps build opinions and points of views. In addition, it plays a very crucial role in securing economic and social progress, improving income distribution while teaching primordial values and morals of society. Every day that I wake up and realize when and how things are wrong, I feel privileged. Privileged because my level of education allows me to see the right from the wrongs and the fair from the unfair, leading me to act upon them without allowing it the benefit of the doubt. Education is the key to success. But no doubt that to be successful, hard work is a must. Without education, it will not yield any results. And as you develop your reasoning and critical thinking skills, you'll be able to apply those into life. This is exactly why every single person should get the opportunity to. A country's economy becomes more productive as the proportion of educated workers increases, since educated workers can more efficiently carry out tasks that require literacy and critical thinking. To only list a few examples in our country would be our traffic, our pollution, the levels of corruption, and many more issues that the lack of education plays a big role in. Because growth, development, poverty reduction, and many more issues depend on the knowledge and skills that people acquire, not the amount of years that they sit down in a classroom wondering when it'll end. Providing good funding for primary and secondary education to improve economic and social performance is key to ensuring that we're educating our people correctly. Therefore, they and we can all be part of the change our world craves. And before I finish, I'd like to leave you with this quote by Nelson Mandela that firmly stands for what I've spoken of today. Education is the most powerful weapon which you can use to change the world. Thank you for listening.
Thank you, Ana Mar, for sharing your thoughts with us. Can you hear me now? Thank you, Ana Mar, for sharing your thoughts with us. Next we have Jose Chacin. He's going to try and answer the question, is the film industry dead?
Yeah? Okay. Who doesn't remember going to the movie theater with a family or a friend, getting popcorn, a drink, or a snack, choosing your movie and going into the hall to your room? That feeling of excitement won't be the same anymore. So, I'll tell you some information about my opinion and the impact of the film industry after COVID and with the incrementing of streaming services. Movies are a massive value creator, a global office revenue, a total of $42 billion last year, an all-time high, contributing to almost one-third estimated $136 billion in the worldwide movie production and distribution. In the film industry, there has been some success and some huge losses, as the COVID-19 pandemic has kept many confined on their homes. Online streaming rocketed this year. In the first 3 months of 2020 alone, Netflix gained almost 16 million new subscribers. And according to the study of Conviva, we all collectively stream more than ever this year. While streaming services have fundamentally altered how consumers watch TV, the idea that if audiences are presenting more time watching content at home is just a myth. Everyone has a kitchen, but everyone still goes out to eat, said Charles Rafkin, the CEO of Motion Picture. He also said that with each innovation that has come to the entertainment industry, there has been to worry about if it will kill the movie theater. Well, talking pictures, technological colors, television, basic cable and smartphones didn't do it. So, in February, the Motion Picture Association estimated that the film and the TV industry directly employs around 892,000 people. It's not yet to know how many of those have lost their jobs, but we can make some rough guesses. According to the federal data, about 125,000 of those employees are movie theaters ushers and concessionaires, nearly all of whom have laid off. Another 170,000 works as actors, directors, camera operators, lighting technicians, set designer, and other production workers, a large percentage of who are also not working. So, is the film industry dying or leaving any sooner? No. Even though that the film industry is going through rough times, it will get going as it has always been. I think it's going to be easier to access the new films to streaming platforms, but that doesn't mean it's going to be the better experience. The feeling of driving to the cinema or buying popcorn with your favorite drink won't be the same anymore after this year. Thank you.
Very good job, Jose. Our next speaker is going to be Juvia Ferrando with the question, what do you think is the #1 public health issue? Let's give her a round of applause, guys.
Working on a weekend like usual. Way off in the deep end like usual. Niggas swear they passed us, they doing too much. Haven't done my taxes, I'm too turned up. Virgil got a body for my wrist going nuts.
Health is a difficult term to define as people have different perceptions of what being healthy means. And it's linked to the way people live their lives. Like a week ago, I was looking for, let's say, inspiration for this talk, and I found on YouTube a woman that was talking about the #1 public health issue doctors aren't talking about. And after some proof, I got to believe in what she said. It's loneliness. An unpleasant emotional response to perceived isolation, also described as social pain. I know you were expecting something like a good diet or exercise, but no, that's not it. And here's why. Let's go back to 1961. There was a small town in Roseto, Pennsylvania. A cardiologist from the University of Oklahoma, Dr. Stuart Wolf, went to Roseto for a trip. He was at a local bar with another doctor. The doctor from there said, "You know what's strange? The people in Roseto never seem to have heart attacks." This caught the attention of Dr. Wolf, so he checked death records and people were not dying of heart disease. The heart attack rate was half the national average. There were no heart attacks in men under 65 years old, and the death rate from all causes was 35% lower than average. In conclusion, they were dying of old age. Then a group of researchers started investigating this town, and one of them, a sociologist from Oklahoma, John Burns, said, "There was no suicide, no alcoholism, no drug addiction, and very little crime. They didn't have anyone on welfare. Then look up peptic ulcers, they didn't have any of those either." Later on, I started looking into their diet, and that wasn't it. Most of the people in Roseto were eating meatballs fried in lard, pizza, pasta. A good quantity of them were obese and also smokers. So what was it? After some time, they finally concluded that the people in Roseto had half the rate of heart disease and significantly lower rates of all other causes of death because the people in Roseto were never lonely. They had celebrations, grandma and the kids lived together, go to church together, and all of this broke in 1971. Everyone started moving, separating from each other, and then the first heart attack in somebody less than 45 years old happened. high blood pressure tripled, strokes increased, and by the end of 1970s, the people of Rosario had the same risk of heart disease than everybody else in the country. With this, we learned that human beings nourish each other, and the health of the body reflects this. So the key to a healthy life is never be lonely. Call your friends, family, and be more extrovert. It's all worth it.
Thank you, Lluvia, for bringing this revolutionary idea to our attention. Next, we have Carlos Gonzalez with the title, The Empowerment of the People Through Technology.
The empowerment of the people through technology. What will governing be like in the future? How will the people be able to communicate their concerns on the administration? In the last 2 decades, the advancement of technology, information, and communication have transformed the lives, health, and wealth of nations. This transformation has also impacted democratic systems. Today's society is more informed and better communicated, which means that citizens have greater knowledge about what is happening in the economic, political, and social aspects. Therefore, their claims and demands are every day greater and more effective. Today, you cannot speak of a successful electoral campaign if you do not use technology. It is not possible to achieve conquest and social demands without the use of these tools. The case of the Arab Spring is a good example. This corresponds to a series of popular demonstrations clamoring for democracy and social rights organized by the Arab population. The overthrow of Egyptian President Hosni Mubarak and the large concentrations of young people which forced him to resign, with large concentrations in the Tahrir Square, and the concentrations in the Dominican Republic, in the Dominican Republic, in the Plaza de la Bandera, demanding transparency in the 2020 municipal elections, and the different demands that are made to governments today are other examples of how citizens claim their rights, and this with all using technologies. Today's democracy is a digital democracy, and democratic claims have become a telecracy. All of this leads us to conclude that we are on the eve of an audience democracy dominated by technologies. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Carlos. Congratulations, that was a great job. Now we're gonna see our last speaker, Maria Montes de Oca, with the question, is meritocracy a fictitious justification for existing inequality? Let's give her a round of applause, guys.
Imagine having the experience and the capacity to practice whatever you want and having to put that aside just because no one gives you the opportunity to exploit your talent just because of where you live. Meritocracy is a system in which people are chosen and moved into a position of success, power, and influence based on their demonstrated abilities and merits, rather than wealth or social class. But it's not always like that. Like every fallacy, meritocracy is based on arguments that seem convenient. Capacity and merits are more important than luck and wealth. If you want equality, you have to earn it with your merits. But which merits? Because as soon as someone from a wealthy family comes in looking for a job, immediately meritocracy ceases to exist. The term merits starts from a somewhat ineffable combination of cognitive abilities, extracurricular talents, and socially valuable personal qualities. Attributes unrelated to merits such as gender, skin color, physical ableness, and family income are not supposed to constrain your choices of educational pathways. But does that stop people from denying others opportunity just because of what their name is, how they look like, or who they are related to? Obviously not. Nowadays, meritocracy has become a leading social ideal. Politicians across the ideological spectrum return to the theme that the rewards of life should be distributed according to skill and effort. The most common metaphor is the even playing field upon which players rise into position that fits their merits. For example, here in Dominican Republic, we have various systems for hiring public officials. Even in Article 39 of the Constitution states that there should be no difference other than those resulting from knowledge, talents, or virtues. However, one of the most referred and discussed problems in the field is the one referred to the politicization of public service and the effectiveness of merit system for selection of public servants. So I don't see the connection to how you can establish a law that is supposed to provide equality yet not obey it. Nonetheless, it's not only here. Unfortunately, in most countries of the world, and especially in those in development, meritocracy is just a word that's used to decorate not-so-credible speeches, since it sounds good and creates a nice fantasy. But after all, it's not real. It should be a race to demonstrate talent with the same starting point for everyone and an even playing field, where everyone knows that with effort, anything's possible. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you so much, all of our 11th graders that performed so well today. From the beginning to the end, really, all of us feel so proud of you guys. So I want you guys to give a round of applause for yourselves. This is for you guys, for the work you did. You guys prepared. You guys showed us the potential that you have, and we're so really happy and proud of all of you to see how you've grown. And this is, in a way, a preview. Sometimes the trailer can be better than the movie, sometimes, right? But right now, what we just saw was a trailer of the future. We saw future leaders right now, future presidents, future presidentas, as I say in Spanish, I guess, and we saw people that are really going to be able to take charge, okay? The ability that you guys have to speak and the confidence that you spoke with today will inspire yourself and other people in the future. And speaking about that, I just want to give a really brief talk of 1 minute about superheroes. Most of us watch these movies. Batman saves Gotham City. Superman saves Metropolis all the time. The Avengers save New York. I don't know why all the time it's New York, but they save New York. What's your superpower? What is it? Well, guess what? Today, you used it today. You took this, a microphone, and you turned it into your superpower. Because think about it, is it true or false that a person with an inspiring message can save a people? Do you think that's possible? It's true. There have been people throughout history that with the message that they've had has been so strong that it's moved people to action and even saved lives. Can you do that? Can you save lives with the message that you project? You can. And you showed us today that all of you have abilities that we're developing in school, at the school in Colegio Monísimo in Rivera, and that you have the talent inside of you to do that. So the Generation Z, thank you, Marianne, for telling us about this generation. We want to give it up to Generation Z, to everyone that was born in this millennium. And tomorrow, we'll be doing the same. Change is Coming, Part 2. Our 12th graders will be speaking. We want to give thanks to everyone that was involved in this, from Kisi, Esther, the people with the sound, Omar, DJ Omar with the mix, Samuel with the streaming and everything. Our teachers, all of our 11th grade teachers that have helped you prepare for this. The engineer that supported the whole activity. Even the people across the street that stopped banging and doing the sound out there with the constructions. But thanks, guys. Thanks for making this happen. Despite the pandemic, we showed us today that we're stronger than the pandemic, and we got our message across. So thank you, and thank you all for this great day. Have a great day. Afterward, we all...